Funny story about that record. So Roger, not to get into his personal, he can stay, say his story, but he had a falling out with his then business partner and girlfriend, maybe fiance. Um, and Narcotic, the label at the time, folded. I guess something happened between them, and he had to start a new label. So I remember as his friend going, "Hey man, come on, let's we could you got this. Don't worry about it. We'll start a new label." And I was very good to come up with names. Like I don't know, I'll say it right now. I came up with the name Subliminal. I helped. I was part of that early crew. That's a whole other story we can get into. So Armand's album's Too Future for You. I actually used Future all the time. My EP that Be With You came on was Tomorrow's Future Today. I was always coming up with titles and cool stuff, and I had a good graffiti hand. So I told Roger, inspired by Arsenal, the team was like Roger's Arsenal Records. So I came up with the name Arsenal, and I said, I'm going to do your first single on this label. Don't worry about Narcotic, man. Like trying to big up his spirits. He was like, all right, cool. And I went home, um, dug up some samples, and I did Be With You. And the sample is from Barbara Streisand and Barry Gibb off that album. And it's 45. I 45'd it and came up with this instrumental, really cool instrumental that had a different hook in it. And I played it for Roger. He's like, I love this. He goes, we should get a vocal on it. And at that time, Roger's label manager, his name was Jermaine Hudson, I think. Great guy from Chicago. He was always hanging around, but he was also Daj's manager. So he was like, hey, why don't we get Daj on it? I was like, absolutely. Let's go. I remember getting cassette tape of the demo that she sang over it. I remember being in my basement playing it for a couple of friends of mine. And I was like, I like this. This is really cool. Let's do it. So we flew out to New York, Roger's studio. So Doug DeAngelis was the engineer. Came in, recorded the vocal, slamming, done. I finished the rest of the EP to launch on Arsenal. White labels came out for Winter Music Conference at that time, and I was giving it out. And I remember Tomas and Guy, Daft Punk, got the record, and they heard it out, and they came to me. He was like, Tomas is like, Junior, I love this record. It's so good. I want to put it out on Roulé. I looked at him. I was like, bro, I'm sorry, but I promised this to Roger because and I was always a man of my word. And I said no, and it was already a white label pressed by Strictly. I was just giving out white labels, but he was like, I want this for Roulé. So he didn't know that it was really committed to Arsenal or Rogers yet to be announced label. And it became one of the records of the conference. And then Mercury came in and licensed the record, and the story goes from there. The only remixes done were by Rhythm Masters at the time, but that record would have been a Roulé record. Funny enough. I don't know what would have happened if it was a Roulé record, but it's an interesting story because when I think about it, it's just I don't know, it's funny to me. And I remember telling Roger, I was like, Raj, I was like, Raj, Tomas wanted his record for Roulé, man, and it's still yours, bro. He goes, thank you. Yeah, it's crazy.